quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Majesty is a premium health and wellness tea line focused on bringing delicious yet healthy tea blends to the community. Filled with an abundance of vitamins and antioxidants, we work to blend teas with exotic spices and fruits to produce scrumptious and wholesome beverages. So check us out at mymajesties.com. That's MyMajesties.com. My Majesties, an Urban Passport member.
And tonight's winning numbers are 18, 55, 39, 71, and 43.
43?
Those numbers again.
We won! Yes!
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
I'll hold on to that.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology. You see, Head & Shoulders has Scalp Shield technology, protects against flakes even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. Number 15?
Never not working.
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield, never not working.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Let 211 be your guiding light for mental health and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em! It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm. Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Majesty is a premium health and wellness tea line focused on bringing delicious yet healthy tea blends to the community. Filled with an abundance of vitamins and antioxidants, we work to blend teas with exotic spices and fruits to produce scrumptious and wholesome beverages. So check us out at mymajesties.com. That's MyMajesties.com. My Majesties, an Urban Passport member.
And tonight's winning numbers are 18, 55, 39, 71, and 43.
43?
Those numbers again.
We won! Yes!
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
I'll hold on to that.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head and Shoulders scalp.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to Random Thoughts with DVP. Let me cut my TV off because I know y'all like to talk trash. If y'all can see what's in the background, we got a pretty good show today. A couple of y'all, well, quite a few of y'all been asking me about life insurance and why I hate GoFundMe. So I brought some experts in who could tell y'all more about life insurance. Wills, I got somebody who can explain to you about Social Security benefits. All the questions that y'all been inboxing me that I have no clue about, I got some experts. But what I want to say first in my monologue is this. Reading is fundamental. You don't have to like what I post, and realistically speaking, I don't care, but I knew how to use the dictionary. So when I say that everybody has choices, everybody got choices. Just because you got two choices that you don't like does not mean that you don't have choices. And it doesn't mean I support anything. I'm just making a statement, because in order for us to converse, you have to speak honestly to me first. When you start telling me things that are basically untrue, it's hard for me to take you serious because you're already creating a lie. And the lies to try to sway me to your way of thinking. So again, and I'm gonna do a show on this in 2 weeks because I got some survivors. Whether you pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine, everybody has a choice to take the vaccine or be fired. So some of y'all ain't made provisions to get another job, which that's your responsibility, but you have a choice. Some people are gonna take the vaccine because they can't afford to do nothing else. Some gonna take it because they were just waiting. Some gonna have to find a new career. But guess what? You still had two choices, take the vaccine or. Now, if your employer comes down and sits you down in a chair, straps you in and vaccinates you, then you don't have a choice. You were forced to. There was no other option, but y'all do have options. The fact that you didn't plan, it's kind of like this show. If you didn't plan for death, because some of y'all think y'all gonna outlive life itself, that's because you decided to make a bad choice. You don't want to think about death and you don't want to talk about it. It's one of these things that we call an uncomfortable conversations. And this is why we're doing this show, is because of these uncomfortable conversations that we don't want to talk about, because even though we see people down on a regular basis, we always think, oh yeah, that was them. So with that being said, I got a lot of guests. I don't want to spend a lot of time on my monologue. I'm going to tell you who they are. Type in your questions as you see fit, and I will ask them. If you want somebody specific, you just have to tell me who it is. I'm going to, my producer is going to post up some of the info that they've given us as far as cards or how to contact them. And we're going to, you know, make it do what it do. So I want to tell you who some of these people are, because some of these people I truly do call friends, except for Dixon. I just happen to know her. I don't know how that happened, but don't hold that against me. So since I brought her name up first, Vivian Dixon Bradford is she's an agent. She was also somebody I worked for. She's a good person. She sings great. If you ever need somebody to come sing for you, she's a good person for that. I have Richard Horton, who is, I would say, an old friend I met a long time ago through somebody I was dating, and I've been watching him, his page. I got Tamika Ray, who was really the inspiration behind this post. And we're going to start, one of our first conversations is going to be about how she got this whole thread started. And I like the way you guys jumped in. Mr. David Walters, I think he's Dixon's supervisor, so hopefully he can keep her in check. He gonna have his hands full. I got my sis Miko. She gonna give y'all some information about how Social Security works after death. If y'all got questions for her, me and Iron, we doing what we doing. And I got an attorney. He's not a expert on wills and stuff, but he can answer some questions. I think I got that right. And that's Daniel DeWaskin. So if you got questions or something else, just put them in, and we're gonna go from there and make it do what it do. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Random Thought with DVP show. How the hell are y'all? Everybody don't be so quiet.
Hello.
There you go. There you go.
Hello. Hello, and also Darren, Mr. Walters. I'm driving, so I'll let him introduce himself.
Okay. Well, when y'all get ready to start talking, y'all can tell people who y'all are and tell them a little quick bit about yourself. Because I know I'm gonna give y'all a chance when we do the outro for everybody to introduce themselves before we leave and how to find you.
We don't want to be found.
Except for the fugitives in the group. You know, my bad. I keep forgetting I always have a fugitive in the group. But let me start off with this. Because I want to get Tamika first because she was one who started, and I want to say it was AJ. I forgot his name, but it was another celebrity who died, kind of like DMX, kind of like so many others who don't leave anything. And AJ's wife, fiance, whoever it was, made a post about why all his friends are, why they ain't supporting him. Well, I'm gonna say this: take it how you want to. If you're my wife, my significant other, and you don't encourage me to get insurance, when you've done a crappy job. But it's not my fans' job to support my family in death. They support you in life. That's how you got to that point of making all that money. The fact that y'all didn't save any because y'all kept thinking that you were going to outlive death, and then you want to do a GoFundMe. It's not other people's job to fund anybody in death. I hate that it happens. But as we're going to discuss, life insurance ain't cheap. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not expensive. It's really not, but it's one of them things that we never want to talk about because we think we're going to live forever. So with that, I want to start with Tamika, and Tamika, come in and say hello and tell them what's going on and how we got this whole thing started.
Good evening, everybody. How everybody doing today?
Great, and yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on the show. First and foremost, Mr. I appreciate the offer to come and speak. The thing about it was AJ that passed away unexpectedly. I think they said they found him in a store. And fast forward, his wife posted a GoFundMe. Some of his celebrity counterparts came together and they shared it. And I think one of them even donated. I use that as a teachable moment, only because in the quote unquote life insurance business, it's so taboo in the community. It's taboo, but it's much needed. So I use it as a teachable moment because I'm not afraid to say what people don't want to hear, because a lot of times you need to hear what you don't want to hear. You need to, you know what I'm saying? You need to hear it. So when I posted it on the page, it was just to get the conversation started, because this man, he was a well-known comedian in movies that we have loved and watched for years and years over and over again. And here it is, 2021, he just dies and he does not have any life insurance. And that's what it's for. When a person passed, his wife shouldn't have to ask for money from his fans. His fans already supported him watching movies, going to the movies, whatever. They've already gone to his comedy shows. They have already supported him. So now they have to bury him as well. That's not fair. Because as adults, we have to take responsibility and do what's right for our own family. So that should not have had to happen. But us as Black people don't like to talk about it. I have reached out to many people to communicate about life insurance. It's, oh, my mama got me in some. Oh, I'm good. I got some at work. Oh, what if you get fired tomorrow? Now you ain't got none. Right. You don't have any. You know, so I just use everything can be a teachable moment, but at that moment, it was new, it was fresh, it was and it's sad to say, it was a trending topic. And I can say behind me posting that, there were a lot of people that came to me to get their policies. Because I feel like people are ashamed that they don't have policy. People mismanage their money and they would rather pay Netflix and bills versus their life insurance policy. And when I said that life insurance can be as cheap for company that I work for, the cheapest we can go is $15 a month. You need something. So you won't have, your family won't be in debt paying your car payment. They won't have to cremate you just so they won't have thousands of dollars to pay. You know, so
for $15 a month, how much? What's a rough amount for how much that gives you payout?
It's not, but it's enough to get you buried.
Right.
Your kids and your wife or husband won't have money to spare like that, like for the pay off the house or anything like that. However, it will be enough to get buried.
But chances are, if that's all you can afford, you don't have a house, no way. But that's why I want the people who are the strugglers. So because we talked about, and we'll talk about it later, that you can get cremated for under $1,000. So everything that goes above that, because I think we spend a lot of, my personal opinion, we spend way too much money on funerals and buying these expensive caskets as opposed to using the money for generational wealth. So you can get a policy, not spend $10,000, $15,000 on a ceremony, and use that money better. Because, like I say, again, you can get cremated for under $1,000.
You know how many people?
Darren, let me even speak on that right there. Because see, I work full circle. I even work funeral services. So it's not. It's what the family come in and pick. You don't have to pick a $15,000 funeral ceremony. Right. You can pick an $8,000 ceremony. But it's the family, what the families come in and pick. But just like Tamika said, just getting the conversation started, it's hard in the Black community. No one wants to talk about death or dying, but guess what? We all gonna go that way. That's the only way out of here. And that's basically when I'm talking to clients or potential clients, you know, I listen to what they have. They come up with the same, all the excuses that Tamika said. My mama got some, oh, I'm good. Well, you know, are you sure you good? Because once you die, GoFundMe is not an insurance policy. And I've been working in funeral services, and we have had some cases where that person loved one have laid back there in that embalming room over months while the family is trying to collect, have fish fries, barbecue sales, whatever they figure they need to do to come up with that money. And I don't wish that on any family. And I most definitely don't wish a state barrier on any family. But the conversation in our community, it's like pulling teeth out of a tiger's mouth. But that's what, those are the breaks. And no one want to talk about dying or death or insurance, buying insurance, but they'll run to the concerts to see Beyonce and everybody else. But what about your life, your afterlife? You're responsible for your own self. And even in my family, I tell my family, I buried the person that I was responsible for, and that was my mom. And I would not bury not one penny going to anybody else. Y'all run around here doing what you want to do with your money. I'm not about to spend my hard-earned money burying anybody. But it's the families.
Yeah, and it's a sad reality that, and you know, I ain't knocking nobody for what they do. You do whatever you do, but it's a sad reality how much love we show in death. Like I said, I looked at some of these coffins because I've had to go to people to do funerals and stuff. And, you know, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, why don't you just get them cremated? You know, pay $200 for a nice urn. But you want to get this big old box, but all together, the 7 of y'all ain't got but $300. And you wonder who going to pay for this and who going to pay for that. And 2 people asked to pay for it. And when the insurance does kick in, everybody want to split the insurance. But then, 2 people pay for all this stuff. Now everybody want to split it, and you know, it causes great hardships when there is insurance, and that's why I'm gonna get to Dan, because there is no will, there is no plan for this money to be given out, and now you got family members just going at each other for you know $2,000-$3,000 because hell, when you ain't got nothing. Like we was talking about with Tamika, if you the one with that $15 a month policy, $2,000 is a lot of money all of a sudden. and you want your you want your cut because somebody had a $10,000 policy and it's 5 of us, you want your 10 grand. But I had to put up 6,000 for the funeral. So I'm getting
the one who put up the most, that's the one that made the call the shots.
Right, but who get the money?
You can't
It
count
won't be no money because you got to go from the funeral home to the cemetery, and that's 2 different bills.
So and so I just want to know, what's the hardest part of getting people to talk about insurance, other than the fact that we don't never think we're gonna die, or that we're selfish and we don't want to leave nothing to nobody.
Let me touch
part right there.
Sorry,
they don't think they're gonna die.
As far as the cremation, I think it's more of a psychological thing. I think people fear cremation because of the whole burning thing. In their mind, it's like they're thinking, oh, I'm not going to burn my family member. I'm not going to do that. I think it's more of a psychological thing. However, I will say this, as far as insurance and cremation, non-Black people have been doing it for years. Insurance, they get wealthy, generational wealth off of insurance. They have built long-lasting monies, big companies. Some of the biggest corporations have been built off of life insurance. Johnson & Johnson is one of them.
Limit Soldier was built off life insurance. Let me give a quick shout out to Jessica Lynette, because she just got her order of husbands delivered to her, a whole box of them. So she gonna need a bunch of insurance. Keep going. So, but yeah, how hard is it to get us to talk about getting insurance? Because like I said, we don't want to talk about it. And I hear everybody saying, oh, you can afford insurance because you're rich. I said, no, that's the reason I got insurance, because I'm not rich. I'm not leaving a ton of money behind because I'm too busy paying for stuff. But when I do go, if I do go, and I am going to go, I ain't going to get the pick. First thing I made sure that I did was that my house was going to be paid for, so that my wife ain't got to sweat that issue. Because that's what when I look at the factors for me, I need to make sure my house is paid for. All my cars are already paid for. And plus I got separate savings accounts. And then I got other policies for all my kids, because I want one just to make sure that my wife and the kids we got are good. Then I want my other kids to have their own policy, because I don't want them sitting around arguing about who's got what. And I do have a will, just for all the little things that I got that I deem to be of value. And I've also told people what I want to happen and stuff. So there is a conversation that I've had with anybody who I think may end up being an executor by default, or at least they'll all know what I want. My mom knows, my kids know, my wife knows. I've told everybody who should get what if something happens to me. And we're good, because even though nobody wants to have these conversations, they will sit down and listen and be like, oh, don't talk like that. Okay, that's fine. But I want y'all to know, hey, I want this car to go to them. I want this collection to go here. I want this is their account. This is their account. Boom, boom, boom. But it's like when you try to have that conversation with other people, everybody want to tell you, oh man, I don't make money like you do. Tamika just said you can get something for $15 a month. And my quick reference was the club. The club costs $10. That drink costs $6. Y'all going to the club 2-3 times a month. So 3 times 16 is 48. So for $48 a month, you can get a nice little insurance policy. Especially, I'm 56. Mine is a little bit more expensive if I were starting new. But for y'all who 20 and 30, and I want to say it's under 40 where you still get good rates. I think over 40, that's when they start, digging at you. But if you're under 40, you should be able to get something really nice.
So with the $40, $48 for insurance, I would say if they're a non-smoker, and they got a kid, I would say they could easily get $100,000 policy or more. So if I ask a couple more questions, the child could get about, let's say, $20,000 and be a rider on their policy, $50 a month. They'll get $100,000, $150,000 somewhere. Now it could be a little bit more, but just around about $150,000 is a substantial amount to at least keep the beneficiary, the wife, the husband, out of the hole.
Right.
Give them a fighting chance to not just everything. They lose their house, their cars, and everything.
And let me get this disclaimer right quick. Ladies and gentlemen, they just gonna give y'all rough numbers. If you want actual numbers, they gotta talk to you and find out what's going on with you. So don't think that any number that you're about to get is going to apply strictly to you. Because as she said, they're gonna want to know if you smoke, if you drink, if you got pre-existing conditions. It's a lot of little questions that go into this. So you're gonna have a different group of people here. So you can call and ask them and see. But just because she's saying all she's doing is giving rough numbers, because that's all we can do is give rough numbers. All right. So she's telling you for about $50 a month, you can get $100,000. It ain't many of y'all who can say $100,000 won't help somebody. It ain't many of y'all who can say that.
Let me get in here a little bit.
Come on and get in here.
Okay. The question you asked a minute ago was, what are some of the things that people, and I kind of interpreted, a lot of times people will use things because they really don't want to deal with the issues. All of it, much of what has been already said, I wholeheartedly agree with. But when you start talking about the cost of it, it's a very, very vast subject. It depends on your age. It depends on what type of health you're in. But yes, you can get, if you are younger and in good health, you can get some pretty good rates. You see these bait and switch rates that you see on TV where they tell people you can get like $500,000 for $9.99 a month. Well, yes.
Don't do it.
if you are perfectly in health, perfectly in weight, if everything works right, and if it's a full moon on that day, you can get it. And it's going to be a term.
10-year term.
It's going to be 10-year term. That is absolutely correct. Now, when you start talking about term and permanent insurance, I always ask people this question. If you call me up and you are 30 years old and you just want some insurance because you've got 3 kids right now and you got a mortgage on your house and you need to make sure they're okay, if you get hit by a boat tomorrow or a truck, then yes, you likely need a term policy, because permanent policies are too expensive to get what you would really need. But you need to understand with term policies, if you go to Google right now and ask the question, what percentage of term policies ever pay anybody any money? It's about 2%. And that is because people tend to outlive them. If you're 30 years old and you want to make certain that you will have money if you pass away when you're 87 years old, you have no choice but to buy a permanent policy, which is a lot more expensive. And the earlier that you buy that, the better off you are, because your health changes. It goes up every year. And I always tell people, there's no way around this. You get what you pay for.
Truly.
However, for many people, there are a whole bunch of people who just need to get something. Coronavirus is a good example. Never got so many calls in the last year as because of coronavirus. And I'll let somebody else talk.
So hey, Derek, can I jump in here?
Yeah, well, I'm coming to you next, because I got to get you before you got to go. But let him finish, then we're gonna come to you, Dan. I was just gonna send you a message. Go ahead, Richard.
No, I'll come back when we get to something.
All right, well, I'm gonna let Dan answer. Then I'm gonna ask him a question because Dan has to leave early. So we're gonna kind of shoot to the middle. Then I'm gonna come back to you guys because Dan has to go. So go ahead, Dan, answer your question.
So I want to say some great stuff here, and I want to point out I can't speak to the African American community. I can tell you that in Judaism, burying someone is considered the greatest mitzvah, the greatest blessing that you can bestow upon another person. And with one great reason, and I won't pose it to you to say, does anybody know? But the reason is that burying someone is a gesture that can never be returned. So it is considered the most selfless gesture. In theory, at least when this was done, thousands of years ago, you weren't doing it for some greater gain. It was truly a selfless act, and that's why if you've ever seen movies where Jews put stones on top of headstones and things like that, it is marking, and it's a gesture about that selfless act. But having said that, a lot of times, and I'm kind of doing or not speaking of what Richard was saying, but a lot of times people say, well, I don't need life insurance because if I'm hit by a car, there's insurance. I'll tell you that in my job, we see all the times, all of what's, there's a term called negative attribution, which is, it won't be me. And when I say that, negative attribution is what lets you get in the car, put your seatbelt on and drive down the street. Because if you knew how many people out there were uninsured, it would blow your mind and you would run back inside your house, lock the door and hide in your basement, probably sitting in a bathtub. I say that in that to be legal, all you have to do is buy $25,000 in liability coverage, which protects the other guy. So we have tons of people who are driving without what's called uninsured motorist coverage, UM, That's a different topic for a different day. But if you're hit by someone who's driving a car and they have no insurance, there's nothing for you. The number one reason people file bankruptcy in this country is still medical debt. So getting back to what our topic is tonight, I say that because I see a lot of people in debt defense cases. I have one young lady who was 25 years old and her grandmother died. Probably about 8 or 9 grandchildren, and I don't know how many aunts and uncles she has, and her mother had cancer, so her mother wasn't contributing. She put the entire funeral expenses for her grandmother on her credit card. It was not, she didn't buy a fancy casket. She didn't, I don't know what it was, but I know that she was doing everything that she could afford and what people were saying they were going to contribute, which anybody who's ever been a teenager and been near the door when the pizza arrives knows that what happens is the pizza arrives, you pay for it, and then everyone else comes and takes a piece of pizza. And when you turn and you're like, hey, you had a piece of pizza, they go, well, I only had one, and they give you $1.
Right.
You never come out right. She didn't, and she was sued for $8,000. She was this close to having to file bankruptcy for it because she put it on a credit card. It was, and by the way, the credit card, we were able to track it. The credit card bill was paid in full every single time until they had like an $8,000, and it put her under because no one contributed. Because after it was done, it was just her. I didn't turn to her and say, hey, my legal advice is you should set up a GoFundMe. That's what, because her GoFundMe was reaching out to her cousins and saying, surely I'm not the only one who stepped up. She was the only one who stepped up for her grandmother. But I say that in that it's negative attribution. It won't be me. And so no one wants to think about death, and no one wants to think about what happens. And it's the easiest thing in the world to put off until you have an illness. And we can ask Richard or Tamika, what happens when you have an illness? Hey, listen, I just got diagnosed with cancer. Now I'd like to get life insurance. It's a problem. That's going to be a problem for you.
And we're going to talk about that when you leave. Let me ask you a quick question, though.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that I keep getting people when they say something about this lack of having a will. From a legal perspective, what happens when there is no will?
So there's what's called rules of intestacy. Intestate is when you die without a will. And I was looking up famous people who've died without a will because AJ's not the only one. There's lots of famous people. Prince died without a will. A lot of people, and if we're not talking about celebrities who have a lot of money, but people who just have a house, what happens is people have misconceptions about what happens to it. The rules follow. So for instance, you might think, you know what, I haven't talked to my daughter in 10 years. She was into drugs. She disappeared. And so she's out there on the street somewhere, but at least I know when I die, my wife's going to get everything. Well, that's not how it works in Georgia. There's rules of intestacy that give the children some percentage. And when I say this, I'm not an attorney who specializes in estates and probate, but I can tell you what, I can give you an idea as to what wills would cost if you did hire a qualified attorney. In the worst case scenario, you do LegalZoom, but don't do LegalZoom. But when I say that, if you die, you don't know that everything is going to be taken care of. You don't know what happens when someone pops up and says, hey, wait, he owed me money, or I have an interest in this. If you have life insurance, typically life insurance and retirement accounts aren't necessarily subject to the same things that are included in a will. There is a lot going on, and there is a reason that attorneys have a place for writing wills. When I say that, you can get a will done for yourself for as little as, I'm going to say qualified, by a qualified attorney, someone who knows what they're doing and they're worth a damn, probably $500, certainly 500 to 1,000. I know an attorney who does a fantastic job for folks who don't have a ton of money. He does reciprocating wills for $1,500. And when I say reciprocating, husband and wife, this to this person, whichever one dies first, setting it up like that. They can have children. What makes wills, writing wills go up is when you have what's called a hobby farm, or if you have a lot of money, if you're trying to protect things from taxes. We hear all about this, the death tax and whatnot. If you do your research and find out how much money you need to have in order to be subject to a death tax, let's just say we're not talking about anybody who's near the strugglers. It's one of those things where, we see people, worrying about that in the billions or something like that. But the fact is that you can set up an estate plan for somewhere, if it's just you, for somewhere between $500 and $1,000, completely take care of your family, your planning, and not have to worry about this stuff. It makes life simple. What is usually the wake-up call for folks is when someone dies and something's really difficult. And we get those calls too. What's going on? She's got these bills. She's got these credit card bills. I don't know how to handle it. And they end up making phone calls to the county clerk's office, which is not going to be a positive experience. And not because the clerks are incompetent, but because they can't give out legal advice. So
and that's all the more important reason to get a will. Like I said, because I've seen too many people arguing over these things, and it's breaking up families because everybody has their own thing. Well, she told me this, she told me this, she told me that. Well, one of the things that I read, I'm glad you're here, Dan, that if something were to happen to me, and what I was originally told was that my wife has say-so over everything because I'm married. Kids like, well, that was my mom. Well, and that's why I say I wanted you here to explain some of that, because that's not what happened. And one of my uncles died and he didn't have a will, and my mom and her brother paid for a lot of stuff. And then when they found out that he did have a little insurance money, everybody wanted some, but only 2 people paid for the funeral. And the funeral was way more than his insurance, but they still wanted they ended up having to go to court because they wanted to try to split insurance money when they didn't pay for none of the funeral stuff. And it's like, well, that's not fair. And they're like, well, that's their brother. They should know. Your sisters and brothers and sisters ain't responsible for your funeral. And I'm gonna stick to what I said. Before I got married, when me and Trina got serious, I had a conversation with Trina. Trina, you got 2 daughters. You got life insurance. And she had heard the old myth. First thing we did, we called my bank and people I was insured with. Let's get you an insurance policy. You under 40, get it now before you turn 40. When you turn 40, they're gonna jack you up. And she's like, nobody ever talked to me about it. And it's like, that's just insane, because if something happens to you, technically, your kid's father is gonna get more say-so than I will. This is why we were dating. So they can almost do whatever they want to, and because they shady with money, they may not give anything to your kids. They're gonna be sitting there fighting, and custody of them goes back to them, so I don't even have a say-so. And it's just one of them things you have to start doing your paperwork, get stuff notarized. And luckily I do know attorneys and I ask questions. And because I do have a law enforcement background, I did my own little legal Zoom thing, got it notarized, and I sent it to everybody who need to have a copy. And I got a copy in my safe. But that ain't the norm for most people. And then, like I said, that was the biggest reason I wanted to make sure I had you on here. And I know some of the other experts can attest to this, because they see it when they got to write that check. Because I bet people be waiting on them like vultures. Well, where my mama money at? I know she had a $1 million life insurance policy because she kept telling me that. Well, even with my mother, she told me where all her important papers are. She said, if something happened to me, this is where my insurance policy. So so you know all this. This is something that needs to be discussed too, because a lot of money is just sitting with the state where ain't nobody never claimed it.
Not only that, but you don't want a situation where you pass away, you have money, but you don't have a will, and if your loved ones are fighting over it, who's getting paid? Attorneys. And the fact is that is never the idea. You wouldn't, put it this way, it's the attorneys that you wouldn't pay while you were alive to have a will, so that your family can fight over it, paying attorneys to either have a piece of it or whatnot. You saw that happen with a lottery ticket case, ugly as it could be. But the fact is that attorneys got paid something like $70,000 of whatever it was, a few $100,000 lottery ticket proceeds and whatnot when someone dies. And it's the law of unintended consequences. But that's where good planning is. And it's less expensive than people think. It's the easiest thing to put off. Meaning no one's got extra money for a will. No one's got extra money for an attorney, and no one ever calls us on a good day.
Right.
But the fact is that set it up, make a plan, decide that I don't even care if you make your New Year's resolution for it now. Decide that you're going to either get the life insurance or set up a will, but make a date, put $50 aside for however long. It's just, if you're coughing and wheezing and that's when you're thinking about writing a will, it's a problem. You don't want to write it with the social worker at the hospital at your bedside. So I will say this as well, just while I'm on here, if people are thinking about the moments where they're going to need attorneys there is what's called a power of attorney for healthcare. It's called the Advance Directive. And if you're here in Georgia and you type in Georgia Advance Directive, we have a fantastic form. This will cost you nothing. The Advance Directive is just what you want to happen to you if you end up in a vegetative state or whatnot. Do you want them to pull the plug would be the simplest way to say it. But our form is a fantastic form, and it does not require an attorney. You can print it up from, I think, the Georgia Department of Human Resources or something like that. You will find it online. It is called the Advance Directive. As I said, you don't need an attorney. It doesn't need to be notarized, but it does need to be witnessed and whatnot. Have that, and like Darren was saying, put that in a safe. But if you want to make sure that if something happens to you when you're leaving for work tomorrow and you don't want people sitting there going, well, I don't know if he wanted to be on a feeding tube or if he did, put your wishes down. I don't know. My wife got mad at me because one of the things, the questions is what to do in case of pregnancy or something. And I wrote run test again. And my wife said, she said, you can't write that on here. This is an official form. And I said, what, it's going to be invalidated because I made a joke? I was like, to be quite honest, if it comes back and it says I'm pregnant, they should run the test again. Move me to another hospital.
See, you're going to get hit. So, Mr. Walters, what you got for me, sir?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that everything I've heard from the insurance professionals has been absolutely correct. But what I really would like to bring to the forefront of our discussion is we have a mindset about insurance that you have to certainly understand the history of it. First of all, up until about the late 50s, African Americans could only buy what's known as a burial policy. A burial policy would pay $500 or $300 or whatever, even if you paid in more. So we've got locked into this mindset about burial. Let's take burial and move it over to the side of the equation. That's a very small part of the insurance need. If you really want to determine how much insurance a person needs, if they are a breadwinner, what they do is calculate the number of years before they retire. And whatever that number of years is, you take it toward times their annual income with the understanding there will be some cost increases. That's how much life insurance you need. Because the purpose of that is, if you should lose your life unexpectedly, you can be 30, 40, or whatever age, you still have a mortgage payment that your money is needed for. You have all of the household bills that your money is needed for. All of a sudden, that money goes away. So let's be proactive in our thought process. Don't wait until it's too late, because now you're setting your family up for devastation. Now they've got to move out of that beautiful house and go to a less desirable neighborhood. So we need to start talking more about wealth creation with our people. And I understand why we're thinking like we are. First of all, you have to understand, we've only been out of slavery about 150 years. That's about 2 generations. In some cases, 3. That's not long when you consider you've got to completely start from scratch and build your life. I understand that. You've got to have housing, you got to have clothing, transportation, and then you have to have lifestyle. That's where we tend to go overboard with the lifestyle. We talked about $15 a month, $50 a month. Hey, check this out. How about $500 a month for an insurance policy? How about $1,000 a month where several family members pool resources to get that policy? Now you say, well, that's a lot of money. Well, how much do you pay for your car insurance? Mm-hmm. And then what do you get from that? You have absolutely no equity. And so the only time you're going to benefit from car insurance is if you have a loss. And so we have to redirect our thinking. We have to change our mindset. All of the insurance professionals on this call, they are aware of that. We have got to help people understand wealth creation. I'm going to share a quick story with you now, and I'll be done. First of all, let me help you understand the history of insurance with Black folk. We couldn't even buy regular life insurance until the very late 50s. In the early 60s, that's when the NAACP forced the major companies to take the race question off of insurance applications. We still don't take advantage of that. That was a mammoth victory, but we're not taking advantage of it. Because before then, Black people, even after they could buy conventional life insurance, there were 2 rate books, one for Caucasians, one for African Americans. And so we've moved past all that, but guess what? We're still stuck on burial. Let's forget about that. Let's think in terms like cremation makes a lot of sense. If you have strong feelings about that, still don't overpay for a funeral service, because guess what you're doing? You're burying that. That beautiful casket gets buried. You get to enjoy it about 3.5 hours, maybe 4, and you bury it. Think about it. It does not make sense. Then many people leave that funeral, or they're sitting up in that funeral trying to decide how they're going to pay a car note or how they're going to catch up with their rent. Let's just back away and think more realistically. I'm going to share the story with you and I'll be done. One of my Caucasian friends had not spoken with his dad for over 25 years. They were estranged. They did not speak. The dad passed. He had $1 million policy. My friend had a sister. He left $500,000 to the sister, and he left $500,000 to my friend. Look at the start in life they were able to get. My friend was able to be, he could purchase a home out in northern Atlanta. He bought a reasonable pre-owned car, and he furnished the house and still had $100,000 left. That's why you sit back and scratch your head and you think that the system is stacked against you. No, it's not. You made poor decisions. I'll rest my case right there, and I'll respond to any other questions.
And it's perplexing to me that we have to do this because, and this is why I wanted you guys here, because everybody still perpetuates, and I can't even call it a myth anymore. It's just an out and out lie that only rich people can afford insurance. Because, you know, and I get it, because I had it too. I had a young Superman theory that, you know, when you're 20, you don't think about death. But I was in the military, so I kind of had to think about death. But my mom always had a policy on me until I turned, I want to say till I turned 22, she had one. And it's just the myth of how much it costs, because we used to seeing that guy come around with that big notebook and our grandparents scraping up money to pay them. And, you know, I don't want to talk a whole lot about myself, but like my great grandmother, who was a forward thinker, she's got one of those burial plots with like 8 spots. So we theoretically don't even have to pay for any of that because we got spots picked. And, you know, we were laughing about it. It's like, that's so old school, because I want to be cremated. Even though there's a free plot for me somewhere, save it for somebody else. But for the people who weren't into cremations, as part of what Dan was talking about, I get it. But now, you know, with the way some families go, husband and wives want to be together, or mommies and kids, or it's just so many different things now. But it's still not that expensive to get something. You know, No Limit Soldier by Master P. He said it 1,000 times. He started that with a life, when that's what he got from a life insurance policy. And we just don't understand how that creates generational wealth. And it's too easy. It's too easy to get our people a head start. And Miko typed in the story, and I want you to just share it right quick, Miko, so I don't have to read it for you about your grandmother and her house, because this is one of the things that I'm sure Dan knows, because me and Dan, we both spend a little time as being cops together, and these are some of the things we see about people losing property over stupid stuff.
Crazy stuff. Like, my grandmother literally had 2 homes, completely paid for. One of the homes she actually sold before she passed away because nobody wanted to fix it. Now, mind you, it was a 4-bedroom home, full bathroom, kitchen, everything in South Philadelphia, in the most prominent area, worth as a shell over $100,000. Nobody wanted to do the upkeep, so she sold it. She passed away of cancer, but during her treatments and everything, she's always told everyone, everyone in the family, she wanted the house to stay within the family. If somebody had hard times or something like that, you know, they take over the house. They live in the house, you know, fix the house, do what needs to be done. And then when the next family member needs something, they move into it. A year after her death, my father and his siblings decided that they did not want to pay the insurance. They did not want to pay the taxes. Now, mind you, she was grandfathered into the tax bracket that she was in, so it wasn't much yearly taxes that had to be paid on this home. They sold it. They did not ask any of the grandchildren if they wanted to take the house, if they want to do the upkeep or anything. They just completely sold it without anybody else knowing. And because my grandmother did not have it written in a will, they had that right. No, none of the grandchildren could fight for it.
And
So
that would have gave them a head start, something they don't have to pay rent on or mortgage, and it's just inherited property. And this is the way that, you know, and I hate and listen, y'all, Dan is a great guy. He understands, and I hate the way we do things. But we've got to be one of the most restrictive races when it comes to having this conversation. And it's a simple conversation. It's got to be had. But he worked with me. You know, there are many times when people won't pay, and let me take this back. I'm gonna be more specific. When blacks won't even pay their taxes, and you sit and you go to the courthouse and you watch all these people buying up property that's selling for way too much, over $8,000 in taxes, because they won't pay the taxes. And they got the money because some of them actually had insurance, but they rather do something else with the money, get them rims, go on a vacation, go on a cruise. But nobody wants to go ahead and, as Miko was saying, put $8,000 into taxes and hold on to a house that's paid for, because that doesn't make sense.
Well, and another thing I wanted to go ahead and interject was with the life insurance, the burial costs. A lot of people think that Social Security is going to pay for it. We only give them $255, a one-time payment that used to go to the funeral home, now goes to the surviving family member, a spouse or a child. You can't do nothing with that. And people come in there like expecting, you know, the funeral is going to be completely paid. No, that is not the case. They're so misinformed of all the benefits that we may provide or that we offer. And they're heartbroken because they really were not prepared for the information that they're getting now.
There's something I just want to say. I learned some things from David and his comments, and by no means do I want to lecture to community or culture or anything like that. What little I know of some Atlanta African American history, I do know about Alanza Herndon. A lot of people are familiar with Herndon homes and whatnot, but Alanza Herndon is a famous Atlantan, African-American Atlantan, and part of his mission, he owned the Atlanta Life Insurance Company. I think that was the name of it. But I will say this, is responsibility and ownership. I mean, for him, it was cultural. And I think that goes to some of the things that David was talking about in terms of getting past the policies and taking advantage of African-Americans. There was and when I say responsibility, it was how death doesn't put the rest of your family under. You know what I mean? That they're not scrounging. That there is a way to take care of things and to pay what is necessary to continue going on for your family. But clearly that was one of the things that Mr. Herndon understood by starting that company, and it did result in personal wealth for him. But it also had a changing effect, certainly on the Atlanta African American community. So it's an important thing. It's also just easy to put off.
It's something we got to do. I got to take a quick break so that we can run a couple of ads. So give us a couple minutes and we'll be right back.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time consuming. That's why when it comes to your auto, home, and life insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact me, Tammy Haynes, your local agent, for a free personalized insurance quote. Allstate, are you in good hands?
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em! It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm. Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
You see, Head & Shoulders has scalp shield technology, protects against flakes even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. Number 15?
Never not working.
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Head & Shoulders scalp shield, never not working.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Whenever
all right, we back, and I got my professionals in. We trying to give you more than what you need so that you can make some wise decisions. We can stop some of these generational, we can keep calling them myths, but they're just out and out lies, if you ask me. So I got people here, we're gonna discuss this. During the break, y'all missed all this behind the scenes stuff. Dan posed a good question. I'm sorry, he actually made a good statement, because we're not biased. This is just what we know. And Dan was saying that this whole thing about insurance, despite what we believe, it's not just a black issue. Dan was saying he know lots of young white people that won't get insurance because they don't believe they're gonna die either. So we were trying to see what's the reason that we don't want to get insurance. And Tamika had something, and Richard got something.
My thoughts on it is, so I'm 40 years old. I was born in the late 1900s. Okay. So I remember
the late 1900s. That's so cute.
1900s. And so I remember, like you said earlier, my grandmother paid the policies on her kids and her grandkids, right? So after, my mom never talked to me about life. Uh-oh, something happened.
Oh, you still there?
Okay. My mom never talked to me about insurance, but she had policies on me and my sister. That means there's a communication gap there. As far as our spending habits in the Black community and not having insurance is because we like to look good. Just let's be clear. We're gonna just be honest about it. We like to look good. We like to live good. We like to drive good. And priorities are oftentimes on the back burner for us, along with no communication about it, or along with nobody saying, okay, well, you got the nice car, the nice house. Now, what you gonna do about your financial wealth? How are you going to help your children not struggle and scrape like you doing now? Because all at the same time, I do believe that everybody got a problem that other people don't know about. Everybody's struggling somewhere with something. So at the end of the day, when we're living lavish and not taking accountability for doing the things that we need to do, it's because we're trying to look good for people that we don't even like. Just to be honest, it's from, we do have a problem in the financial literacy, how to save money, how to have the rule of 72. I didn't know of the rule of 72 until I got into life insurance. I didn't know that we need 3 separate bank accounts. We need the emergency fund. We need the short term. We need the long term, just to keep our money separate. Long term is for something huge that you're trying to do, something big for retirement or something. Short term, you want to buy a house. Emergency fund, your car breakdown. I didn't know any of this until I got into this industry. However, I'm 40 years old. I didn't know it. So I can imagine how many people don't know it, the younger generation under me, because I couldn't tell my kids until I learned.
Right.
So it's a lot of no communication, a lot of lack of prioritizing, and just don't want to do it because they don't think they're gonna die. But like she said earlier, there's your only way out. That's the only way you're gonna get up out of here.
And a lot of it is a word that we hate, and you know, it's become one of my catch. A lot of it is ignorance. And ignorance is not a bad thing. Ignorance just means you don't know, and we got to accept that, because there's just some things we don't know. And as much as I tell people, sometimes you have to step outside of your circle and get around other people so you can be exposed to what's going on outside of your circle. Heck, I consider Dan a friend, even though we don't never hang out. We got each other's number. I never knew white people looked at life insurance like that. But you got to remember who I hang around most of the time. And, you know, people make assumptions based off their circles. And sometimes you have to go out and just say different things. I never knew Tamika was into insurance till I saw her page. And this is why we got to be more open-minded to strangers. Strangers can teach us more because they're not already prejudiced by trying to be friends with us or trying to say things that we like or say things that won't hurt our feelings. They just gonna give you stuff and you get to decide what you want to do with it, whether you want to add it to your tool belt or whether you want to dismiss them. But you got to open your mind up to outside sources because they don't have the need to try to impress you. They're going to say what they got to say. You take it how you take it. And there are people who I despise, but they've taught me a lot of good things. I think Richard had to step away because he had another answer. Anybody else got anything they want to give me about this?
Yeah, I want to build off what you said, Darren. So one of the things is information these days. So much information is free. You just got to work to process it. And by processing it, I mean that you can look up, you can Google anything and find, legal advice. You'll find attorneys that have published things or put things on their website or whatever. Make phone calls. Call Tamika. When you call Tamika and she gives you something and she gives you information, I'm not telling you, and I don't know Tamika, and I have no reason to distrust anything she's saying. Make a phone call to 2 other life insurance companies or life insurance agents and listen to what they say. And where they're consistent, there's your facts. Everything else is that information on what they're offering. And when I say the facts, I don't mean that they're offering fake rates on anything or anything like that. I'm saying that if you're in a car wreck, make a phone call to 3 different attorneys. Don't call, just the one person on the billboard. I don't care if you call people on 3 different billboards, but get the information. And that's where, when you start hearing the same stuff, that's when you know. But that's the kind of thing where the trouble is with life insurance, people are writing it off and deciding that they can't afford it off the bat. And there's different kinds of life insurance, which we haven't really got into. But the fact is that, do you get what you pay for? Most things in life, you get what you pay for. Car insurance, you get what you pay for. So all of those companies saying we're going to keep you legal for less, you're protecting the other guy. You're not necessarily protecting you. But these are questions that the trouble is that you got to be an adult to make the phone call, to get up and look online, get the information and figure it out. There's a different process between getting the information and making the application. So.
And one of the things that I learned with insurance, well, not so much with insurance now because of how it is, but like with attorneys, the best attorneys that I know, none of them advertise. I've never seen a commercial for none of the attorneys that I hold in high esteem. That's all I'm saying. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different insurance people here, and because I do believe everybody should have choices. I'm not going to just sit here and push you to one way. This is my first time meeting Mr. Walters, but he came highly recommended from Dixon, who's crazy, but she's my friend. For all these people, I would say, yeah, go ahead and ask them questions. I'm giving you choices, because sometimes what happens with insurance is you may call somebody who is not a good insurance salesman. They're more interested in their commission and they trying to sell you the highest rate possible, and that's what turns you off. So as Dan was saying, call 3 different people, give them, do some competitive shopping. I'm giving you 5. Figure out who it is, what it is you like, and then make a decision. But make a decision, and the decision can't be, I'll do it next week. Yeah, you just, we don't have that crystal ball. But Richard, I see Richard is back now, looking chill. What was your question, Rich? No, you had an answer for Dan.
Well, Dan asked the question. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I didn't know whether I muted. Dan asked the question: is there, if I can paraphrase, is there a cultural difference in the way white people look at life insurance as opposed to in the African American community? Now, I have sold life insurance that went between $9.99 a month up to $20,000 per year in premium. I can tell you that in our community, we've been talking about people a lot today who maybe don't make a lot of money, but they need to have something there in case of final expenses. When you start looking at wealthy people, white people typically get better financial advice. They come in and they are seeking the best financial advice. They're seeking the best products. African Americans, when I was working as a financial advisor, they typically tended more towards real estate. They felt more comfortable with stuff they could put their hands on and touch and feel. White people understood and have used for years. If you're wealthy, then life insurance fights the biggest problem. If you're wealthy, the biggest problem you got is not can you bury yourself, it's taxes. And white people understood how to use life insurance to evade and pay no taxes and then still get an insurance benefit. When you start talking about people who are on a struggling budget, I agree with the young lady. We tend to not prioritize. I had a young lady, one of my sad stories is a young lady who worked right down the street at Waffle House. Now I sell auto, home, life, all that kind of thing. So I deal with all types of people from all different categories. And this young lady used to come in, she could barely pay her auto insurance. And we kept talking about life insurance. We kept talking about it. And I offered her something, $150,000 policy that was for under $20 a month, where she could put her child on there on a rider. And lo and she never bought it, lo and behold. And you probably heard about her. It was about 3-4 years ago. She got hit by a car right down on Terra Boulevard. And the little girl, like 5 years old, died. And her arm got broken. And the child got buried from a GoFundMe. And anybody who has been in life insurance for a while, I have been in life insurance. I've been selling since like 2001. We all have a story. I got 2 or 3 more like that of people who have either disadvantaged themselves because they didn't take good advice. And there are some of us who will buy the wrong types of policies and don't put enough money into them. And then when we really need them, they go away because we didn't put enough money into them over the years. You need somebody who knows what they're doing and will tell you the truth about the advantages and disadvantages of a policy and not just try to sell you something.
And that's what I think is so important, which is why, as Dan said, you got to do your research. Don't be afraid to reach out to more than one person. At one point, I had actual friends who sold insurance. And 2 of those friends were trying to sell me something that I clearly didn't need. And it was going to cost me more than my county insurance. And it's like, dude, why would I pay more for this with less benefits? Well, see, no, you need this because, no, I don't even have this stuff over here because I don't talk to other people. And they try to use the friendship on me. But, and as I later learned, they got a bigger bonus out of it. So it's like, and that's why I say, don't be afraid to talk to different people. You know, it's okay. If you got a bank account, if you got car insurance, their chances are they got a life insurance policy that you can attach to. Most credit unions, most banks have them. If you don't want to use a professional and just do that, because I want you to get the best you can, but I want you to get something. And as Richard said, yeah, this show is geared more toward people who claim they can't afford it, because it's getting a little bit easier with the low middle income people. They're becoming a little bit more savvy. But what I think a lot of people still miss out on, what you brought on, is putting their child on as a rider, because nobody wants to think about their child dying before them either. And that's one of those things that we just don't want to have that discussion at all. And it's a sad thing, because you can't control what happens in life. You can't control somebody hitting you from the back and your child doing, you know, and it's sad. But again, I refuse to contribute to a GoFundMe page. I just refuse.
You just hit on a point I want to hit on. For all of you who have children and grandchildren, my grandson now is 8 years old. When they are young like that, it is very inexpensive. I bought him a policy when he was 3 or 4 years old. It's a 15-pay whole life. It's only $25,000, but I pay on it for 15 years. And then there's enough money in that policy to last him the rest of his life. Should he live to be 99 years old, I'll be gone, but his daddy or somebody will be able to be a beneficiary on that $25,000 policies. It cost me $234 a year.
Interesting. And like I said, that's why I want to get this information out there. So, I see some of y'all peeking in. I know y'all gonna inbox me, but I want y'all to ask these questions now while I got these people on here. Because inboxing me, I got to do the same thing. I'm gonna have to reach back after them and wait for a response. They can't keep doing that to me. Ask them now. I see some of y'all popping up. Go ahead, Tamika.
I would like to say that also, I think people, this is a day and a time of fast. Ain't nobody got time. And just to clarify, it takes all of 15 to 20 minutes now to do a life insurance policy. You can sit down 15 minutes.
Yeah, you're playing a game on your phone. You can do all this in the time it take you to play Angry Birds. 15 minutes, some questions, a couple of medical questions or whatever, the protocol or whatnot. 15, 20 minutes and you done. Submit your payment, everything online through Zoom, over the phone or whatever. It don't take long. Nobody has to come sit in your house anymore if people be uncomfortable about it. You don't have to go to nobody's office. People don't want to do that either. It's so convenient now. There's really no excuse except for stop eating McDonald's once or twice a week, and that will be your insurance payment.
Or drinking Starbucks coffee, that can be saved and put towards your insurance.
Yeah,
simple things.
But also, you know what? I give them even another way out. A pre-need. Put your end of life product on layaway. A pre-need. So you're right. There's no excuse. If you don't want to talk about insurance, do a pre-need.
And Ari brought up something, because I know this happened to a couple of people. You have got to, if you don't do nothing else, and this is, pay your insurance before you pay your house note. If you miss a payment, what happens when you miss a payment, professionals? What kind of grace period do y'all give?
You get about a 15, 30-day grace period. After that, you done. But they give you time. They give you
time, 30-day grace period. After that, it lapses.
So so if you wait 45 days like you're doing with your cable and all them other things, you gotta pay that insurance. Give up drinking, give up hot dogs, whatever it is, give up cigarettes, get that premium paid. Because I know two people who, I forgot to pay it. No, don't forget to pay it. Put that on direct. Put that on direct draft. Don't even worry about that. And when my insurance come out, I don't even see it. So it just comes right out. Because everything that I deem to be important, I don't want to have to write a check for. I want my bank to just snatch it. Just snatch it. As soon as I get paid, snatch it. The house note, my insurance, to all three companies that I got, that insurance money comes straight out.
And some people just need to see if their employers provide allotments where it can be taken automatically out of their checks.
Yeah.
And submitted.
But I mean, it's ways to get around. It's ways to do everything, and we gotta get rid of excuses. We gotta stop. As Tamika said, we gotta quit prioritizing how we look over who are we protecting. Who are we protecting? Like I said, for me, it's important that my little establishment is taken care of. I don't want something to happen to me, and then my wife got to sit out there and try to figure out how she can work to take care of this house when. For less than $35 a month, if something happens to me, this house is taken care of, and she's gonna have some change. So at that point, this is where, if I'm gonna be selfish, this is where the selfish kick is. If she can't figure out how to pay the taxes, then that's on her. But she ain't got to figure out how to pay the mortgage. The mortgage is way more than taxes. So. And she's gonna be able to take care of the taxes too. But I'm just saying, if the selfish is gonna kick in, that's what's gonna kick in. How is it we ain't leaving nothing? And we keep complaining about a system that we're contributing to. Because what our parents didn't teach us, because they didn't know, we can't use that same excuse now. It's you see people on Facebook popping up with all kind of stuff. Sometimes you just like it just so you can read the comments and learn something. You don't have to say nothing. Which is how these started, because I'm having these conversations when Tamika and I went in with her, people start inboxing me stuff. They wouldn't put nothing on the page. And that's why I was like, we need to have this conversation, because y'all keep asking me and I got to go back and ask somebody else. but I may not ask the right question the way you mean it. So that's why I want to have these things, and I'm gonna let them leave their information so y'all can inbox them or whatever, because I want to help you as best I can. But what I can't do is speak their language. When it comes to police stuff, I got you. When it comes to insurance stuff, I gotta call somebody. I gotta reach out to somebody. And as we said, I'm gonna get you, Mr. Walters, this is about that uncomfortable conversation that we preach on my JBN. We got to start having these uncomfortable conversations until they become the norm. This is something that should be talked about. This is something that should be refreshed. As I was saying, you know, I know what my mom's policies are because she's told me. My wife knows where my safe is. My kids all got a copy of what I want to do for my will, just so they'll know what's going on. I got it written. I got it saved. It's on my computer. It's there. But oh man, don't talk about that. Don't talk. Me and Dan just had a friend die all of a sudden. You think he planned to die when he died? I mean, he should have lived at least another 20, 30 years, but he didn't. Who plans things like that to happen? And this is something that we can't keep just putting off and, oh, I got it tomorrow. I don't want to know is beer, can he drink beer and still get insured?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's one of the things we want to talk about. They are going to ask you they are going to ask you questions. One of the questions that I sent to Tamika and Dixon was about the lady said she suffers from depression. She said she had policies, but every time after a couple of months after they do everything, they send her premiums back saying they won't insure her. What's the rule on people who suffer from clinical depression, or is there a general rule?
Depends on the company. Different companies have different guidelines. I will tell you the company that I work with right now, if you mention depression, it's an automatic decline.
Right.
With that particular company. Now, that doesn't mean you can't get life insurance. But you are talking about going to a different company. I mean, there are life insurance companies that will insure people who got cancer and who just had a heart attack. However, there are stipulations out there.
Right, exactly.
For example, if you died during the first 2 years of the policy, all they'll do is send you your money back and they won't pay it. You got to live it 2 years to be able to collect it. So, but the best to answer that question is a tough one.
Who was Mr. Walters? Is that the way it is with your guys' company?
Well, yeah, most companies are. Well, first of all, what he mentioned was a graded policy. And that's what you see advertised a lot on TV. And if you can get a policy that's not graded, you're much better off because of.
You muted yourself. I can't hear you, sir. Can anybody hear him?
No.
You mute, Mr. Walters, you muted yourself.
May need to type it to him.
Iron, did he do it or did we do it?
Yeah, you got to unmute me.
Okay, now there you go.
Something with his audio, I can't hear him.
Okay, there you go.
And he's gone. Iron, what's going on with Mr. Walters? Is that us or is that him?
No, it's him. It's his audio. I don't know if it might be a signal. I'm not sure. I know it's his audio because he's unmuted.
Well, I'll say for my until he comes back, with my company, I haven't heard any specifications on depression or anything like that. I do know with cancer and different things like that. Some cases you can get a policy, but our thing is to just submit it to the underwriter and let them determine. We never speak about it to the client or anything like that. We do, ask questions if they say they have this illness or whatever, we still submit it COD without taking any payments, anything like that. And just let the underwriter do what they do, and they gonna get the paperwork from doctors and whatnot and look over and determine. But sometimes if they are approved, they'll get a higher premium It just depends on what the case is with them.
Okay, second question.
That point, that's when a pre-need. If a person just can't get a life insurance, then a pre-need. Go ahead and just put your funeral products on layaway, basically. And you just making a monthly premium on the stuff that you have already went to the funeral home and selected. So they can do a pre-need. And that's what I had explained. That's the response that I had sent back to the young lady when you had sent me that question in the chat there.
Okay. And what about, because I heard some companies now won't insure you if you haven't been vaccinated for COVID.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I haven't heard that either.
Nothing's
Mr. Walter, you back?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can hear you. We were waiting for you to come back.
I want to digress just a little bit about if you miss a payment. It depends on the type of policy you have, and we didn't really elaborate much on policies that build cash value. Now, if you've got a policy that's building cash value, that's an additional incentive for a person to want to buy life insurance because it's a way to actually save money, which is one of the hardest things to do. And as your policy builds cash value, if you get down the road and need some money, then you can borrow it from the policy and you can typically get that money in about a week with no application. Now, I don't advocate just going around and borrowing it for the heck of it because it is going to reduce the face amount, but that's another incentive for a person to want to buy cash value building life insurance. First of all, if you should miss payments, as long as there's cash value in the policy, then of course it will pay those premiums until you exhaust the cash value. So it's not like if you have a permanent policy that builds cash value and you miss a payment, it'll go away. It won't. That happens with term. Now, with a term policy, the term does not build cash value. You're going to get more insurance for your dollar, but it's not going to build any cash value. And so to that other point, most companies have graded policies for people who simply cannot qualify medically or for some other reason, but only buy a graded policy if that's your last resort. And a lot of what you see advertised on TV, that $9.99, I can't say too much and criticize another company, but when you see these low rates, more often than not, it's a graded policy, which means if you lose your life in the first 24 months, they're going to early return the premium, and then it gets a little deeper than that. Some companies most of them will pay your return on premium plus a percentage. That percentage can go as low as 7%, all your money back plus 7%, but that's not across the board. There are some companies give you all your money back plus 10%. There are other companies that will give you all your money back plus 12% if you pass in the first 12 months. If you pass in that next 11 months, they'll give you all your money back plus 24%. Those are kind of questions you want to ask because 9 times out of 10, an unscrupulous agent is not going to volunteer that information. So that's pretty well all I had right now. I don't want to just hog the conversation. Thank you.
Hey, if you know what you're talking about, what about suicide? Does any policy pay
Yes. You can commit suicide as long as you've had the policy for over 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to that guy down in South Carolina. He was an attorney, but he hadn't read his policy.
And he was crooked anyways, but he got a lot of stuff going on. That's a whole nother story.
He could have killed himself, and the beneficiary would have got the money. But instead, he went and hired somebody else. He didn't read his policy. As long as you've had that policy for over 2 years, you probably say, well, why? Well, the reason is, if you're contemplating suicide, it is a belief that after 24 months, whatever reason that was motivating you to commit suicide would probably have gone away.
Okay, what if, and these are some, what if we're gonna use me because I ain't sensitive. What if I'm committing a crime and get killed while I'm committing a crime? Does my wife still get paid?
No, maybe not. You have to read the policy.
I'm gonna be dead. I can't read it.
Well, if you're committing a crime, the policy is probably not going to pay.
Okay. So for most policies, if I can hold off my suicide attempts for 2 years, she can get paid. But if I commit a crime, it won't matter.
Right.
Just generally speaking.
That's what I understand about it.
Yeah, I'm guessing that some of my friends are married to felonious type people, and they just want to know if it's worth getting a policy since they commit crime. What you got, Nico?
that.
Say it again.
I need to interject on that one.
Go ahead, Miko.
Security.
Social Security. Go ahead.
With criminal backgrounds. Now, a lot of people nowadays are not into getting married or being married. They may have worked, may have something in Social Security for spouses and children and that nature. When it comes to criminal activities, homicides or anything of that nature, if the so-called spouse is not legally married for more than a year, that claim for spousal benefits will be denied based off of an investigation of how the homicide happened. Because now we have to investigate if the spouse was the one that killed that person.
Gotcha.
So if you're not married, legally married for a year or more, that person will not get paid.
Okay, well, I ain't suicidal, so if something happened to me, I want y'all to look at Trina first. I'm just letting y'all know. Look at Trina first. Yeah, and I know those are two of the biggest questions. So what about people here's a good one now, and luckily none of y'all since. What about people who are morbidly obese?
Well, that is going to be left up to the underwriter.
Okay.
There's what's known as a bill chart that most companies go by. Your height and weight needs to fall within a certain range, or you might move to a different category of coverage. You can probably get covered somewhere, but if you what was the term you used?
Morbidly obese.
If you're really obese, you could get something, but it's probably going to fall in the category of graded. So height and weight does make a difference. Right. I want to just add one little caveat right here, if I may, going back to crimes. In the last few years, there's been another question added to many insurance policy applications, and that is, in the last 10 years, have you been convicted of a felony? Are you currently waiting trial for a felony? Now, you can really go through the dust and see what that's about. And so that's another message we have to get to our young brothers and sisters, that a lot of people look at that felony as a badge of honor. But if you have been convicted of a felony in the last 10 years, that's an absolute denial. Now, there might be some companies that don't have that question yet, but I've seen it start to surface in the last 2 or 3 years.
Wow. So let's just do this now. For anybody who ain't got insurance, so now we're talking about the age of Corona. What are some of the things? And all you guys said your companies don't have a vaccine policy. What are some of the things that are being frowned upon or that will raise your premium these days? We know drinking and smoking.
Yeah. I know for
you can't put drinking and smoking in the same category. Smoking is in a category all by itself. There are a lot of people who drink, but that's very seldom a question on the application unless you have been treated for it. Right. And then certainly don't be like a lady I just wrote a policy for. She did a binge drink the night before a paramedic exam, and she did a drink that morning. Well, insurance agents can't get medical information from the company. Only the insurer can get that. But when she gave me permission to talk with the insurance company, she said, yes, she did drink the night before, and she did have a drink that morning. She said, but our exam was at 7:30. So they denied her.
So, okay. And before we move on, because this one thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, when they give you these questions and exams and stuff, somebody's coming to do an exam. there's no need in lying, because whatever, when that nurse come out there, or you go to her and she take your blood and all the other stuff, that needs to back up what's on your information packet. You can say you don't smoke, you can say you don't drink, you can say all this other stuff, but the underwriters or somebody's doing some kind of investigation. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
So understand, lying, oh, I don't smoke, I don't drink, so I want to get the cheapest rate possible. And then you come back, as Mr. Walker said, that you done had a fifth and a half before 8 o'clock.
Now, diabetes and hypertension, how do y'all companies deal with that?
You talking to me?
Anybody?
Anybody that sells.
Hypertension is usually not a problem as long as it's controlled with medication in every application, as long as it's controlled with medication.
And what about diabetes?
It depends on the type of diabetes, and it depends on the company. Some companies want to know if you've had diabetes before age 50. Others may want to know if you had diabetes after age 50. Before age 50, it typically will not work against you. After age 50 is another question, and then they have different levels that they would rate you at. You're not going to get preferred. And see, many companies, when you do the paramedic exam, you get rewarded for your good health. So anytime they say no medical, you're going to pay more for that policy than if you do a paramedic exam in most cases.
See, and with our community, that's two of the highest things that we come across is the diabetes and hypertension. And that is something that backs people off on obtaining life insurance because they figure they can't get it.
Hypertension with control with medication in every company that I'm writing for, no problem.
Okay.
We never answered the question about COVID either. From the company that I'm working with, you have to, if you've had COVID, it has to be, you can't get a policy until you wait 90 days after your negative test. So you can have COVID, but you can't get a policy until after 90 days, the date of your negative test.
Interesting. Okay.
And then I have a company that they have what's known as a good health statement. And before they will issue the policy, you would have to sign a statement that you have not been exposed to anybody with COVID in the last, I think, 10 days or so. And then, of course, certainly if you've had COVID, that's going to move you over to that other category that the young lady mentioned a few minutes ago.
Richard, what about your company? If they had COVID, what's the standing rule?
You know what, COVID with us really was more about changing of some of the procedures along the way. They stopped, they were reluctant to send the nurses out to the homes as much. They did more behind the scenes. And I can't remember all of the stuff, but it really wasn't that bad. They're not going to do it. Each company does something different. But here's a couple of things from just things that we just said, because we talked about smoking for a minute. And I want to say this, when you talk about people who want to get good rates, smoking is not just nicotine. If you smoke marijuana, at least with my company, they consider that as smoking.
That covers herbal essences, people. Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, there's no need to not disclose that, because when they take the blood, they are going to find that. And, I've talked with underwriters. To me, smoking marijuana is more healthy than nicotine. But the truth about it. But you're going to get a smoker's rate, even if you don't smoke nicotine. On diabetes, my company, the first question I always ask, are you on metformin or are you on insulin? Because the perception is that metformin is generally a milder form of diabetes. So when I'm trying to predict quotes, I don't quote it as high as I would as if they had diabetes. But with my company, if you got diabetes, it's going to get rated. It means it costs more.
Right, because like with my employer, since I work for the federal government, they had people that came out, outside provider that held life insurance policies and everything. I was denied because I was issued metformin for pre-diabetes to help me lose weight. And they were like, once you issued medication, you're considered to be diabetic, and that was the end of it.
And you know, I like to add this part we're talking about lying or misrepresenting. Your medical records, believe it or not, contains everything about your health. They know every prescription you're taking. They know if you have already put on an application that you were a smoker at one point and you came back and tried to say you weren't a smoker now. There's so much in the Medical Records Bureau, so you may as well be truthful. And believe it or not, the underwriter can access that information in less than 10 seconds.
And you know, and it's so crazy because they always ask me, do you drink? And technically I drink. I mean, it may be a shot, and it takes me like a year and a half to go through a small bottle. So I always put, yeah. And they like, you know, do you drink once a week? I was like, yeah, like a spoonful, because I just take a shot. And it's like, that's not considered drinking. I was like, I just want to be honest, because I don't want y'all to say, hey, we found some of this tequila in your system. But it's like, you know, and then I got friends who drink like a bottle every day. And it's like, man, I can't believe they do this. And I'm like, dude, you know, technically you're an alcoholic. You just don't go to the meetings. But they don't understand how that affects them in the long run because they think they're healthy. And I say, yeah, but you're not the underwriter. They looking at things that help prolong your life and what's going to shorten your life. Because your job truly ain't to get paid. They ain't trying to pay everybody out in 2-3 months, which is what some of y'all going for. So they need to understand how the process works. But like I say, I appreciate the knowledge you guys are giving because, again, you know, we talking about when Tamika brought up her $9 policy or whatever, the $15 a month policy. Yeah, you're not going to get a whole lot. But for those who don't have a whole lot, it's something. For those who have a little bit more, yeah, you're going to step up your game. I wish I could get a $15 a month policy. But for what I got, for what I have, I know that ain't going to cover nothing that I got going. But if I was still living in my grandmama's basement, catching MARTA to work every week, it would get me buried. And I just want y'all to have something. You ain't got to try to have as much as LeBron James because you ain't got as much as him. He can get one of them policies that Richard was talking about that's $20,000 a year. Most of us ain't getting no $20,000 a year policy. That's just not realistic. But to get a policy, you can get a good policy for under $100 a month. And I'm sure you can get a great policy for under $100 a month.
Now, can I add a little bit else to that?
You can add a lot, sir.
All right, let me add something to that mindset. And this is one thing that I'm sharing with families. You can take, let's say you have 4 or 5 siblings. They can buy a very nice policy on an elder family member. They pay the premiums. They can do it. It's legal. They can collectively pay those premiums. Let's say you've got 5 people and they all invest $100 a month in this policy. When that person passes, that death benefit is going to pay to the beneficiaries. And it can be all 5 of those folk if you wanted to. But that's something that we've got to promote more in our community by having several family members to pool the money and get a premium on an elder family member. And you can keep this going through different generations. You can start teaching your other family members when you're sitting around on the Thanksgiving table, talk about that. Don't talk about what you saw on some TV show. Talk about how you can build family wealth. And then you can take this money and have a plan for putting it into safe investments. And you can now build money within the family. So now when these other generations are ready to go to school, you can give a book scholarship, or you can give some money toward a school, provided they keep a certain grade point average. There are so many things you can do by taking this vehicle and enhancing your family financially.
And like I say, I think I asked y'all most of the questions that I was asked, and I knew I'm because I see a couple people who popping in, but I can't do the job that y'all do because I don't speak with the same passion. I read what you're sending me, but if you got a sub question, you need to come on here and post a question and ask them directly. Or like I say, they're going to give you their information. So you can reach out to them after the show is over or whatever. And I'm saying that they all okay to talk to. They're all okay. As freely as y'all talk to me, and I don't know some of y'all, you can talk to them and ask them the same questions. They can give you honest answers. All I can do is tell you, I got to ask somebody. But they can tell you honestly. They'll let you know if they can't insure you, because some things they just can't insure. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it just happens like that. Everybody ain't insurable, or if you are, you ain't gonna be able to afford what it's gonna cost to insure you. But at least know your options. One of my friends. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I totally agree with what he said about building generational wealth. But I do think that in our community, it hasn't been ever really been talked about. It's like a foreign language. Our younger people are in the state of mind of right now, and generational wealth is just not a thing because it hasn't been taught in school. It hasn't been talked about from our parents. I know my mom and dad didn't talk to me about it. They knew nothing about it. They came from the era of work 9 to 5 or whatever in the mill, in the plant, and they told me, go to work 9 to 5, put your money in the bank and save your money. And now with me in this industry, I've learned so much about building generational wealth that I think that we have to do more talking about it. That's why I commend you for putting us all together so people can hear it. Each one teach one. We can spread the word. It's all about conversation. It is an uncomfortable conversation. The death side of insurance, that is a very uncomfortable conversation. However, there is a upside where you can get a whole life policy and you can borrow the money off of it, and you can start you a business. You know, there is an upside if you're in the finance side and you can put $10,000 in a mutual fund in a IRA, and you can get 12% interest every 6 years. It roll over, it doubles. There is a upside to insurance. To getting in the insurance business, I think was one of the best things that I could have ever done for myself, as far as learning, for helping people, educating people. I love my Black people. We don't do right all the time now. Let's be clear. We don't do right. But I'm not gonna turn my back on my people, because I know a lot of us don't know because our parents didn't know and their parents didn't know. But now that we know, I believe that it is our job to tell, teach, and preach to somebody, whoever will listen, because that is how the next generation and the next generation is going to understand generational wealth. And eventually it will become a common thing to get life insurance for our community, to get life insurance, to invest in IRAs and mutual funds. Don't just put your money in the bank. Put it somewhere. Do what the banks do with the money. They take our money. We put our money in the bank. They taking our money. They putting it in an IRA. They getting millions and millions of dollars, and then they lending it out on credit cards and loans and stuff like that. And they giving us less than 1%. But we can do that. But if we ain't telling nobody, they don't know. They just don't know.
Right. And this is why the conversations are so important. And when people say, why do you argue with people who don't want to hear? I say, I ain't talking to them. I'm talking for the people who sitting in the background who won't comment because they don't want to be shamed from idiots. But then they inbox me. Whenever we having these conversations with people who want to say, oh, I don't need no insurance. Hey, you ain't got to get nothing. This is for the people who want to. But a lot of us are still, we want to be accepted. So it's something that we think we want, but we listen to other people who tell us we don't need it. And another question right quick. Jessica says, what if you were diagnosed with depression many years ago, but now you're fine? Will you still be denied or have that stigma attached to you?
Each company would look at that a little bit differently, but it would depend on how long ago. My guess is if you were diagnosed with depression 10 years ago and your medical records show that you're fine, you're not taking that medication anymore, you're probably going to be fine.
Okay, so a lot of that will be based on whether or not you've been institutionalized or you've been committed for any period of time?
Well, most questions in my world on the applications ask you things that have happened. A lot of the questions that we have on our application, they ask you, is there anything else that has gone on during the last 5 years? If something happened to you 17 years ago, generally, from a health standpoint, you can have a heart attack. You can disclose, like with my company, if you've had a heart attack, they won't even talk to you until it's 5 years past it. Heart attack or cancer. However, if you're outside of that, then they're willing to talk with you. And depending on the medical records, that's how they determine the rating.
Gotcha.
So I would think a little bit behind in terms of like depression. That's nowhere near as, I don't want to say that, but that's not as imminently dangerous right now, this minute, as cancer or heart disease.
What about AIDS or HIV?
Oh, that's a tough one. Oh. That's a graded policy. And you got to be at least 50 years old. In most cases, some companies will go as low as 40 years, but that's it. All you can get is an accident policy.
Tamika?
It's real.
So, I mean, like I said, I just want you to know what's realistic, because there are some things that's going to make it super hard for you if you didn't get it beforehand. Now, I'm assuming, let's just say, again, I'll use me. Let's just say I've had my policy since I was 20 and I got AIDS now.
No problem.
You're good.
Right.
No problem.
And I think I think it was Tamika or maybe Richard, don't wait till you get sick to try to get a policy. That's when your chances start falling off the cliff. Do it while you're okay. Hey, and if you coughing right now, you need to go on and get that insurance policy and, get it before you go to the doctor and it gets diagnosed. And hey, cough for 30 days. Cough for 30 days. Don't go to the hospital till after you get it. But get this insurance. Pay them premiums. And then get sick. I mean, that's just the system. Don't be on your deathbed trying to get it. You're not finna get insurance if you on the what's that machine they got people on who got coronavirus? The breathing machine?
The respirators.
Yeah, you're not finna get insurance if you're on that respirator.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, when you need it, you need it now, and you 50, you had 40, you had 30 grown years to apply for it, and you didn't need it. Better to have and not need than to need and not have. Remember we kept hearing that phrase when we were younger. Mm-hmm. This is one of them things that you gotta get up on. And one of the things that's crazy, the military taught me this. When you learn to live off a certain amount of money, when you get a raise, do something else with that money. Increase your life insurance, increase your savings, increase your investment. But once you learn to live off $700, when you make $1,000, don't learn to live off $1,000. Learn to keep living off $700. This is how we create wealth. When people say, oh, why you got so many bank accounts? My mama told me never to keep all my money in one account. So I got several bank accounts that I contribute to regularly because I keep letting them try to match each other. Yeah, some people say I should put all the money in one account, but then I don't have nothing to compete with. So I compete with all of them, and all of them have one of my children attached to it. So they ain't got to sit there and try to split. When I, as they say, when I make them little allotments, $50 or whatever my allotment is I make every month to each account, so they stay equalized. That's for me to give all of them something. That's for me to give all of them something so they ain't got to fight over one something. And you got to do this. Give up drinking. Stop eating a fast food meal. You can do this with Tamika said, for as much as y'all paying for Netflix, you can get your life insurance policy. So give up Netflix. Go on and get you a Fire Stick and give it up. Give up cable TV and get you a great policy, because we know cable is expensive.
People sacrifice for the strangest things, right? Well, not strange, but
craziest
things. People will sacrifice for a purse. Oh, I want this purse so bad. You know why? Because the club is gonna look cute on your arm. You see what I'm saying? The shoes. A guy might sacrifice for an outfit. The type of car that he want or whatever. But those are very small things. And to have life insurance, that is looking at the bigger picture. A lot of us now are right now type of people. Well, I'm okay right now. You're not forward thinkers. You have to change your mindset for this whole conversation. You have to change your mindset in order to do better, to be better. Be a forward thinker and forward in the future, one day you gonna pass away, somebody in your family gonna pass away. You just don't know the day or the hour.
Right.
But it's going to happen. That is something you can guarantee. You can put every dime you got on somebody that you know in your family gonna pass away one day. Be a forward thinker and go ahead and do the things that you need to do. You will feel better. That is like an accomplishment. To have your family, your child, your mama, you can put insurance on your mama if you want to, whoever, to know that if something happens to these people or if something happens to you, your family ain't got to worry about it. Your family ain't got to come out their pocket. Your family ain't got to do nothing but present this check, this money to the funeral home. That's all they got to do. And grieve in peace. Because it's hard to grieve when you got to worry about your bill too. Now you done put them almost in a heart attack because now they got to worry about you done left them. And now they got to pay your bills and theirs too. That's not fair.
And she helped y'all a lot. Because see, one of my accounts ain't for nothing but to pay for my little cremation. Because I found one that was under $1,000. So I got a cremation account. It's got $1,100.57 in it to pay for my cremation because I don't want none of my insurance money going to nan mortuary. But that's me. But that's because I talk to people and I listen and I look at how people created wealth. Because you can't tell me, even in this day and age, oh, that ain't a lot of money. It's more than you got. If you don't leave somebody nothing but $10,000 or $15,000, that's a hell of a head start that most of us never got. Just think of what 10 or 15 grand could do for you. For some of y'all who want to start a business, but you can't never find that startup money. That 10 or 15 grand will take you through that. It'll help you subsist through them lean times when true business owners know the first year you really don't plan on making a lot of money because you're doing a lot of promotion. You got to put your product out there. You got to get around. You spending more than you making if you for 90% of business owners. That first year and a half, you ain't doing. You made 20 sales. You spent more than that getting all your paperwork. We got to do this for each other. We all talk about how we want to do better. We got mad when Kanye said we prefer brand over land, but we don't want to buy property because we don't want to take care of it, like Miko was talking about. We don't want to pay the taxes, which are way cheaper than the mortgage, because we got this crazy theory, oh, I don't want to live in that old house. Have you seen what some of the houses in the West End going for now? And any of y'all who from here know the West End is dilapidated. Even some of them dilapidated properties are going for 6 figures. There's no way they worth more than $8,000. But them things is going for $200,000-$300,000. That is insane. One of my friends inherited a house from his grandmother. She paid $62,000 for it. He just got offered $450,000. All he had to do was just keep paying the taxes. He ain't did nothing else to it. He did nothing else to it. Paid the taxes, cut the grass. It's still like a piece of trash, but somebody wanted it because now it's in prime real estate. And that's what we don't get. We don't understand how it works because, as Tamika was saying, we into the right now. But you know, my youngest daughter is 8. She don't know nothing about right now. But when she get to be 18 or 28 and 38 and I'm gone, I need to leave her something from beyond. So when something happened to me, bam, she good. She right there. Now she can and say, hey, this what my dad left. You know, this house. If my wife want it, fine. If she don't want it, it go to the next child. If they don't want it, fine. And at the end of it, if they don't want it, sell it. The only beef with selling is now it's got to be split between everybody. Because I ain't finna have that argument. But all this is written down, and we can't be scared of that. You can't be scared to ask people. Like I say, Mr. Waltz is the first one I'm meeting tonight, but all the rest of them, I can call and ask a question if I wanted to. You can call them. This is their business. Their job is to answer questions for you. That's their job.
There's one point that we hadn't presented.
Go ahead, Mr. Waltz.
I think it's a critical point.
Keep me focused.
Life insurance proceeds are tax-free.
What does that mean? What does that mean for the people in the cheap seats?
Well, what that means is this is one of the only vehicles in America where you can have money to come into your hand and it not be taxable. You hit the lottery, you're going to pay taxes on that money. You have a life insurance policy, it's absolutely tax-free.
So you can leave somebody a super duper lump change of money, and it's as Randy Moss said, that's straight cash, homie. straight cash.
$dollars and don't have to pay taxes on it.
And because it's 7:50, so I know we got to get ready to go because we got another show. So Miko, finish telling me what will Social Security do in addition to Social Security care anything about whether or not you got life insurance?
We there's two programs. There's the Social Security and there is Supplemental Security, which is Supplemental Security. The best way to think about it is federal welfare. They count every single penny that comes into your household. So life insurance, any burial funds, if you're receiving some kind of support or anything, is counted against you. Under Social Security, which is what I mostly work under, we don't care. That is your money. That is your money. That is put up for you. So
say somebody like me who's retired. If I die tomorrow, and I'm retired, what should Trina expect from Social Security as my wife?
As long as she was married to you for a year before you passed,
right?
She's entitled to, well, because you've claimed the youngest child, she receives what we call child and care benefits. Widow's benefits start at age 60. Anyone that's under the age of 60, they have to have a minor child under the age of 16. They can receive benefits as child and care benefits. At the age of 16, when the child turns 16, the benefit stops for them. But then at age 60, they can reapply for the actual widow's benefits.
Okay, so she got to wait 20 more years before she get paid. Trina.
Unfortunately, yes.
Hey, that ain't unfortunate, but Zuri get them just like that. So I can't let Zuri know that she can get rich.
Get them because if it happens before she turns 18, she will receive the benefits. And because Zuri was diagnosed as a disabled child prior to the age of 18, if she still has issues at the age of 18 and you have passed away, she can probably still be entitled to benefits, which what we call is adult child benefits.
And now I gotta delete this video in case she watch it on the slide. See, Dan, just talk. I can't let the kids know I'm more valuable in death than I am alive. I can't let them know that. You know what I'm saying?
Adult child benefits. If they get married, that benefit gets terminated.
Okay, that's what's up.
The spouse is responsible for that person then.
All right, so we y'all got anything else y'all want to give out before I let y'all give y'all business information or closing information, because we at that 8-minute mark where I need to let y'all introduce and give out y'all stuff. And y'all got anything else we need to discuss? Mr. Waters, you've been keeping me on Mr. Waters, you've been keeping me on my toes. You got anything else that I done forgot or left out?
I think we really covered a lot tonight. We really did. We have some great professionals on the phone, and I think it's just been wonderful. And I think you've done a great job. I want to say this about Major Bradford. I know she's your friend, and you kicked it to the curb.
She's not my friend. She's a stalker. She's a stalker. She is not my friend.
That's right.
I will sue you for that.
I know she looks like a model on the picture, but she's actually a major in the Fulton County Sheriff's Department. Everybody, this is a sister who has fought her way up to the top. And she's representing the women in Georgia very well as a major with the Fulton County government.
Yeah, we used to work together until she scared me. I got out the car and prayed and called my mama. So my mama told me don't get in the car with her no more. So what we gonna do is I'm a Southern gentleman, so I'm gonna let the ladies give their information first. So I'm gonna let Tamika go first and tell y'all what she does, how to find her, and get in touch with her if you got questions.
My name is Tamika Ray. I am an insurance agent writer. My phone number is 470-738-0924. If you're looking to get you an insurance policy, get your family, your mom, your children on a policy, contact me, call me, inbox me, and we can set that up. If you're looking to get into the insurance business, also contact me. This is a great way to control your own time. Take your time back. I said earlier, this is one of the best things that I could have done for my own self. I have 3 daughters, but my teenage daughter, she's a cheerleader. She is doing everything in school since they let them back in school. And I have become a personal Uber driver. So by me getting into this field prior to school starting back, that was the best thing I could have done. I had Zoom meetings. I can schedule around the time that I need to be doing what I'm doing while she's in school, while I'm sitting in the car waiting on her. It was the best thing. And I have never been on a job where I can make $200, $300, $400 in 15 minutes. I have never done that. But in this industry, it can very well be done. So again, my name is Tamika Ray. Phone number 470-738-0924. If you don't like to talk, just text me, because I do have clients like they don't really like to talk. They text and say, and then we have to set up our Zoom meetings and stuff like that. So that's fine too. Yeah.
And let me say this: it ain't a matter where you come from. Me and Tamika met. I was doing security at a club, and she was a waitress. So you can be doing things and still strive up. You know what I'm saying? Quit thinking that something will do your whole life. But it's all about making connections, because had we not been friends, I wouldn't have saw on her page and we wouldn't be able to connect. So, you know, quit being so shallow and realize there's room for everybody for growth. And sometimes it takes a weird situation or something that you didn't plan to get you in a place where you ought to be. And, you know, that's what I'm going to say. Miko, I ain't give out your whole government name because you may be on the run. You want to tell them anything, or do you want me to just go to the next person?
Well, my name is Tamiko Davis. I work for the Social Security Administration out here on Covington Highway and Memorial Drive. Our office number is 877-626-9909. I am what we call is a Title II, which is pretty much retirement and Social Security disability benefits. So I specialize in retirement benefits with Social Security, disability benefits if you've worked for 30 years or more and are insured. Some people may not have to work 30 years and still be insured. I deal with auxiliary benefits. So if you're disabled and have children, spouses, they receive benefits as well as survivors benefits, widows benefits, and such nature. I specialize in those type of cases. I take claims. I can answer some SSI questions, which, as I said, is the supplemental security insurance benefits, which is considered federal welfare. If I don't have the answer, I have coworkers that I will get the answers from. So you are more than welcome to actually call the office if you have questions. We will answer them. You can ask for me, Ms. Davis. If you don't want to call the Social Security office, they can go through you, Darren. And I will gladly answer any questions. You know, any questions that you type me, I will send the response back.
Okay, and when you say 30 years of working, that's working a job where they got taxes taken out on them, right?
Taxes taken out, not working under the table.
Or not being a contractor.
No, yes, you can be a contractor working as long as you're paying Social Security taxes.
Okay, so, but it had to be something where Social Security taxes were done.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Social Security taxes have to be taken out under self-employment to be insured under Social Security.
Gotcha.
So that can happen.
All right, Mr. Horton.
Yes, sir.
My guitar player extraordinaire.
Let me unmute. Okay. Richard Horton. I'm an American Family Insurance agent in Union City. I do automobile, home, life, and business policies, and my number is 770-282-2189. And I would just a shout out to everybody, because we talked about a lot of stuff, and these people, men and women, have given such great information tonight. So it was a pleasure.
And the guy who been keeping me in line, first time meeting him, but he on it. He was running the show. I was just hosting, but he was running it. Mr. Walters.
Thank you very much, and I certainly didn't mean to step on your toes.
Oh, no, sir. No, sir.
Yeah, it's certainly a pleasure. It's always good to be able to share information with our folk about wealth creation through the insurance vehicle. My name is David Walters. I'm the CEO of Comprehensive Expense Planning, short name CEXP. My phone number, I'll give it twice, 678-933-8255. 678-933-2312. I repeat, 678-933-2312. The way we deal with customers, when you call in, we take whatever time is necessary to analyze your situation and come up with the right policy to fit your needs and budget. We help people understand you don't have to try to fulfill the entire insurance need with your first policy. You can have multiple policies. And certainly when you call us, there is no sale required. We absolutely don't do high pressure. We've only been doing this since 1984. Again, 678-933-2312. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure being on the show tonight.
Okay, so this is what I need. If you got a page or a card, if you ain't send it to me, send it to me. So when I post it to share the information for people to reach out to you, I want to be able to just give it to them on something that they got, because of course I wouldn't write none of this down. And let me get Dixon's information because she sent it to me. Dixon's information, her phone number is 404-914-3479, and it's United Home Life Insurance. But yeah, if y'all send it to me, because I definitely believe in promoting other businesses, and one of the things I always say, there's nothing that we can't share. Like I said, there's several insurance people on here. Y'all know I've had other radio show guests on my show because, hey, some of y'all may like their show too. There's enough for everybody to go around. And the sooner we learn that as a team, we accomplish way more as a bunch of winning teams than always trying to be the best team ever. There's some competition that's good. I like to compete with my radio host friends. I like to talk trash with them, but I ain't gonna never trash them. I'm gonna tell you to go watch their show. This is what we do. I gave y'all some great alternatives. For those of y'all who want to support Black businesses, I gave y'all some great Black businesses. So do your thing. I'm gonna post that information on my Random Thoughts page, on my Good Men Need Training page, and on my personal pages. So as soon as they send them to me, I'm gonna share everything they send. And I want to thank you guys for coming on here and answering questions and telling me things I didn't know, and getting Iron to stop drinking beer and no more herbal essences. I'm gonna probably do a follow-up because I know my hard-headed crowd is gonna inbox me because they scared to ask y'all questions, because I'm trying to get the show where we got a phone line and people can call in. So chances I'm gonna reach out to you. I'm gonna reach out to y'all again and get some more information, because I truly did enjoy having y'all on here. There's nothing like being educated. See, I complete ignorance to insurance, so I got people to explain it to me. Ignorance is not a bad thing. Ignorance is only bad when you choose to stay that way. If there's a way to find out more, just ask some people. You don't have to know them. You don't have to go drinking with them. You don't have to like them. Just let them share their knowledge with you and go from there. This is how we get better. And y'all know what I like to say, each one teach two. Don't waste time just teaching one person. Get as many as you can. But don't be scared to ask people what you don't know. And don't be scared to just sit back and shut up and then ask your question. But I can't tell them they're wrong. My job is just to get the information out there. So again, I want to thank everybody. I especially want to thank Tamika. Like I say, her post inspired this whole thing, because even though I've been talking about how I hate GoFundMe pages, and I was having a moment, then her post just popped up. I think she's stalking me, so that's what I'm gonna say. But this is how we do things. And if you got a social media, accept some people you don't know, because things that come up, sometimes we don't know what to ask because we don't know things exist. So our ignorance is just because we're blessed. So again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate it. So y'all know what it is. I didn't have nothing to drink because I had an insurance show. But until next week, y'all know what it is. Peace, popcorn, and chicken grease. And we out. I want to thank you guys.